everyone, it's Agnieszka from 5 Minute Language. Welcome to my channel. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already and give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to switch on your notifications as well to make sure you don't miss any new videos on my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be answering a very common question that many people ask me, and the question is, how do I decide which language I want to learn? So often I get comments underneath my videos where people say, I'm interested in French, Japanese, Italian, but I don't know which language to choose, which one is more useful, which one is easier, which one should I actually commit to? And the answer to this question is not really straightforward. So even though I might have my preferences and I might have, my favorite languages, I'm not really able to recommend anything based on that. So I think the most important thing is that the decision as to which language to learn will depend on lots of different factors, and they will all be specific to you and personal to you. So the first thing I want to say to you is that you should ask yourself why you're learning or why you want to learn the language or a foreign language. So the reason might be, for example, that you want to go and live abroad or you want to go and study abroad, and you might have this kind of general idea of wanting to go abroad to another country to live, but you're not sure exactly where you want to go. So if that's the case, rather than just looking at different countries and trying to decide, maybe ask yourself some more specific questions about your goal. So your ultimate goal is to study in another country, but then ask yourself questions. What do I want to study? How do I want to study? And then perhaps that will give you some more ideas about where those opportunities are, and that will allow you to then look into different countries that offer those opportunities. And based on that, you will be able to get to the language that you want to learn. So obviously another reason might be that you're interested in the culture of a specific country. That makes things much easier in terms of narrowing things down. But essentially, just ask yourself the question, why? Why do I want to learn a language? What is it that motivates me? What is it that I'm passionate about? Do I want to change anything about my life? Do I want to move? Do I want to travel? Do I want to study somewhere else? And then hopefully answering those little questions will give you a better idea of what language you may want to choose. Okay, the next tip I've got for you is about maximizing speaking opportunities. So sometimes when I speak to language learners and I ask them, why are you learning French, for example, or Spanish? They say, because there are lots of people I can practice the language with. So that could be another factor that you consider if that's something that's important to you, being able to practice the language, being able to interact with people in that language. Then obviously it would make sense for you to look into a language that has a lot of speakers. So that could be either in your country, there might be a minority in your country that speaks that language, or you might want to look at the numbers of people that speak it worldwide. And that way you will know that if you go on a platform such as italki, for example, there will be lots of speakers of that language for you to talk with. So for example, if you live in the United States, it might be that choosing Spanish could be a good idea, because there will be a lot of people who use Spanish either as their first language or their second language. So you will be maximizing opportunities for speaking that way. So if speaking is one of the primary kind of motivators, meeting new people, then obviously look at the numbers in your country, but also worldwide. And that will hopefully help you make up your mind. Okay, another kind of situation, personal situation you might be in, is that you have tried learning a foreign language before, but you failed, unfortunately. So you are a bit demotivated, you are a little bit sort of overwhelmed, and you still want to learn a foreign language, but you're a bit kind of discouraged by the experience you had before. So in this case, you might want to look into a language that's kind of relatively easy. So maybe the language that you were trying to learn is, for example, German, but you're a Polish speaker, so the grammar isn't very kind of similar, the vocabulary isn't very similar. But as a Polish person, you might want to consider learning Russian or Slovak. There will be some similarities between the languages, and hopefully that will give you a kind of head start, and you will be able to make progress more quickly. Or it might be that you already speak another foreign language, and it can be a good idea to learn one that is quite similar to that language. So for example, if you already know a little bit of French, you might want to learn Spanish next rather than picking up something kind of relatively difficult, like Japanese. So think about those kind of considerations as well. Another kind of thing to consider when choosing what language to learn are obviously the cultural considerations. So what is it that you are interested in the most? So if you're interested in film, then ask yourself, do I like watching films in another language? And are there any kind of particular languages that I have seen films and enjoyed them? Or maybe it's music, or maybe it's literature. So I would basically try to ask myself those questions first. What is it that I enjoy? I personally enjoy Scandinavian crime dramas, so I might want to learn Swedish or Norwegian next, because they are the languages that are used in the kind of things that I like to consume. I would definitely ask myself about that first, because otherwise you might end up learning a language and the culture of that language might be famous for medieval literature, but not really for 20th century literature, and you might end up having to kind of rely on resources that are not really kind of that interesting to you. Another kind of factor to consider, if that's the kind of person you are, you might want to choose a language that will be a challenge for you. So if you're somebody who likes challenges, who likes approaching difficult things, then choosing a language could be a nice opportunity to do that. And if you're not sure what language to choose, then you might want to choose a language that seems either very unfamiliar or seems quite difficult to you. So for me, Japanese was that language that kind of posed a bit of a challenge. I was obviously planning to go to Japan. That's the reason I kind of took it up in the first place. But then when I came back from Japan, I still kind of saw it as a challenge, as something almost like a puzzle that I'm trying to solve. And that really worked well with my personality, because I like quite sort of like difficult things, challenging things. I like puzzles. So it was definitely kind of a consideration for me when trying to decide what language to concentrate on next. And the final thing is that you might just want to follow your passion or something that you fall in love with. So that's the reason I started learning French in the first place, is because I just really liked the sound of it. I thought it sounded amazing. I thought, all the kind of cultural aspects of it were really beautiful, like literature and poetry and film. So I kind of fell in love with that aspect first, and then I didn't really consider the practical implications of learning French. So I grew up in Poland. I started learning French in Poland, and obviously there's not many French speakers there. I'd never traveled to France, so being able to talk to other people wasn't really a motivating factor for me. It was more about the way the language sounded, basically, and I think that's a perfectly good reason to learn another language. So if you choose Italian as a language to learn because you love it, that's perfectly fine. It's only spoken in one country in the world, so some people might ask you, why are you learning it? There's not that many kind of countries that you can go to use it, but if you love the language, you love the culture, then absolutely go for it. You definitely need to kind of enjoy it to be successful, so choose something that you really like. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. Also comment on what languages you are considering learning, and maybe this video helped you make up your mind a little bit. Let me know as well. So I'll see you next time. Bye!